Hello everybody, this is Lara with your free daily analysis for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. Before I get into it, don't forget to subscribe, like and make a comment, and subscribe so if you're new to this channel you don't lose it, because I'm going to do this every day. I'm updating these three cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is moving sideways this week. It's still finding resistance around 35,000. The last completed weekly candlestick has a much smaller range and it has weaker volume. The week prior, though, had a nice increase in volume. Now, I am really skeptical about this data. This is from CryptoCompare, but I have looked at other data sources, including Yahoo Finance, which is usually pretty reliable. And they do show a drop-off in volume, but not as spectacular as this. A week before saw volume pushing price higher quite nicely, but last week, smaller range, weaker volume. Adds to the view that we might be about to get a pullback sooner rather than later from Bitcoin. ADX at the weekly time frame tells us there is still an upward trend and there's a very long way to go before it's extreme, so if we see a pullback I expect it will be more short term in nature. Could still be deep because that's pretty normal for cryptocurrencies, but I'm not expecting a huge return to the bear market at this point. RSI is overbought, but this can get deeply overbought and then exhibit multiple bearish divergence even on the weekly time frame before a bull run comes to an end. This looks like an early stage of a bull run. I know that might be hard to wrap your head around because it is overbought, but this market is very extreme with extreme volatility and an extreme bullish bias. Money flow is still in neutral territory, so even though RSI is overbought, money flow's got a little ways to go. As price rises, ATR as a measure of volatility is starting to increase. Great to see volume returning and some volatility starting to return to this market. A ways to go before we're there at previous levels, but it is nice to see an increase. On the daily time frame, we still have a bearish candlestick here after we saw a single bearish divergence between price and RSI and price and money flow. Price is still managing to find resistance about 35,000. Hasn't been able to break through and remain above. It did break through by closing above that level a few days ago on the 1st of November, but now, because that level is repeatedly breached, I want to see another close above and then another day up and away before I really have confidence that this area of resistance has been broken. For now, this bearish divergence suggests we might be about to get a pullback sooner rather than later for Bitcoin. If we do look for support 31,000. Volume declining as price moves sideways, so it's just in a little consolidation. Now we may not get a pullback, we may just get this sideways consolidation before the bull run resumes. And overall, remember, I am really bullish on Bitcoin. ADX is very extreme, so a pullback would relieve these extreme conditions. RSI has that bearish divergence after reaching deeply overbought, so a pullback would relieve these very extreme conditions, would be normal expected behavior after these extreme conditions before the bull run resumes. Likewise, money flow reached overbought and exhibits bearish divergence, not as strongly overbought as RSI, but it did get there. ATR was starting to show a nice increase at the daily time frame with that last bullish push, and now it's just sideways. The Elliott Wave count for Ethereum, in my last analysis I was expecting a pullback, but we're not getting that. Price is just moving higher. It's choppy and overlapping though, so I'm still looking for the completion of this 5-step forward pattern that I am labeling minute wave 1, the basic Elliott Wave pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This 5th wave looks like it may be unfolding as an ending expanding diagonal. One of the nice things about Elliott Wave diagonals, and triangles should do the same, they test their trend lines and they should adhere strictly to their trend lines. So we have 1, 2, 3 with a test of the trend line, 4 and 5 now testing the upper 1, 3 trend line as well. This is a ending expanding diagonal because 3 is longer than 1, so 5 must be longer than 3. It's possible to see it over here. You can see that 5 at 136.04 is longer than 3 at 111.57, but I am going to assume now that the trend remains the same until proven otherwise. And let's have a look at technicals and see how much strength or weakness we have in these last upward sessions. The last completed week for Ethereum shows a smaller range and it has weaker volume. If we see a pullback, look out for initial support here, 1800, below that 1716. The last completed week showed a decline in range and a decline in volume. That is concerning for the short term for a bullish case. Expect a pullback to come, may not be right now, but it will come. Now I expect sooner rather than later. ADX may just be moving above 15. I want that to be a little bit clearer. If the ADX line gets above 15 and has a positive slope, that would be given the strongest bullish signal it could give. And at the weekly time frame for Ethereum, I'd give that a lot of weight. I want that to be a little bit clearer first. RSI is still in neutral territory, money flow still in neutral territory, and volatility still very low levels for Ethereum. On the daily time frame, still finding resistance about 1880. Look for next support if we see a pullback at 1800. Volume declining as price rises. This is concerning for the short term for a bullish case. This supports the view that we may be about to get the end of minute wave 1 and a deep second wave correction for minute 2 sooner rather than later. That's what Elliott Wave will label the pullback, minute wave 2. ADX tells us the upward trend is now very extreme, but not as extreme as it can get for this market, but moving closer to that concerning territory. RSI still overbought. Money flow still in neutral territory, but exhibiting bearish divergence with price. If we see another pivot develop, then I'll start to compare pivots between RSI and pivots between price, but I won't want to see a pivot develop in price before I compare corresponding points to see if there's divergence. I would also want to see again a bearish candlestick reversal pattern before I expect a pullback may be underway. We had a strong bearish candlestick pattern here on the 2nd of November, but that was only followed by a slight lower low before prices continued on up. If we see another bearish reversal pattern, then again we may be looking for a pullback to occur at that time. The Elliott Wave count for XRP, I am again going to assume that the trend remains the same upwards until proven otherwise. Looking for the end of my minuet wave 1. I'll be looking for a bearish reversal pattern before I expect again this could be over, and a deep pullback for minuet 2 may then be underway. Minuet wave 1, 5 steps forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by 3 steps back, A, B, C. That's what we'll label minuet 2, and it may not move beyond the start of 1 below 0.4743. I'll expect it to be quite deep, at least 70% of minuet 1, because that's normal for a cryptocurrency. Could even be 80 or 90% of 1, but it can't move beyond the start of 1. Here is the last completed week for XRP, and it came with a very slight decline in volume, but hasn't stopped price, it hasn't slowed it down, it's moving up really strongly today. Look for next resistance for XRP at 82 cents. The volume, according to Crypto Compare data for last week, was 420 million. The previous volume, the previous week, 421 million. So there really isn't much in it. Ever so slight decline in volume. This volume bar here is just of Monday, so it's an incomplete week, but so far it's pretty strong just for Monday, so we may see a further increase. Volume overall is, for the short term, pushing price higher. That's good to see and supports a bullish case. ADX at the weekly time frame has a positive slope. The positive DX line is above the negative. ADX tells us at this time frame there is now an upward trend in place, which is a long way from extreme. This is not the strongest signal ADX can give, but it is telling us there's an upward trend at this time frame. RSI is in neutral territory. I'd wait for a pivot to develop before I identified any divergence. There's no pivot developing at this point, corresponding point for price. Money flow also in neutral territory. A long way to go before ADX, RSI and money flow reach extreme. At the daily time frame, Monday the 6th of November sees price moving stronger with good push from volume. Really good to see. Look for that next resistance identified at the weekly time frame. Volume very strongly pushing price higher. This is really good to see. Now XRP can end with blow off tops. It can have vertical upward movement that can end really, really quickly and be followed by a deep pullback. So assume the trend remains the same until we see a bearish reversal pattern develop. We don't have that today, so assume the trend remains up. ADX tells us there's an upward trend. It is now in very extreme territory, so look out for a blow-off top. Could end quite quickly and surprisingly. RSI fairly deeply overbought, or very deeply overbought, 83.3. RSI is a bound oscillator from 0 to 100, so it can't get much higher than this, although it can. It can move into the 90s. It can actually stay there a while when these markets have a strong bullish run. So on its own, I wouldn't expect this is telling us XRP has to end this upward swing, but it's getting into danger territory. Money flow overbought, but not as extreme as it can get. That's it from me with your quick update today. I'm back in Panama City for, I don't know how long, 2, 3, 4 weeks. It just remains to be seen. A slight interruption to plans before I head over to the United States, and hopefully I'll make it there for Thanksgiving. I've only had one of those before. I'd quite like to have another one. That's not something we do in New Zealand, so that'd be super cool to have that with family in Texas. So that's it from me, and I hope everyone else had a really lovely weekend as well.